Good evening, everyone. You are in the spotlight with Brian Gardner for this Tuesday, June the 29th, 20, June the 28th, 2016, June the 29th tomorrow. Good to have you all here for our first and only show of this week, our last show of June. Hope your week has been treating you well. It's been a week since we've been on the air. Obviously, we were preempted for the NBA draft on Thursday. This is our first show in over about a week. So good to have you all here for this In the Spotlight 401 show coming at you here on this Tuesday night. Before we get going, as always, let me remind you of all the ways in which you can interact and contribute to our show. Have your voice heard by emailing us at itspotlight401@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight401. And please remember to use the hashtags, hashtag itspotlight401, hashtag ITS5 for our 5th anniversary on the air as a podcast. Or you can create your own hashtag, depending on what we're talking about, hashtag ITS Wrestling, hashtag ITS Basketball, etc., etc. Just don't be offensive or disrespectful. That's all we ask. You can also find us on Facebook. Just search for In the Spotlight 401 on Facebook and make sure you like our page upon finding it. Apologize for being late. I had to work late, and I forgot to. It shows you how little I've been using my computer because I moved to a new house, and I forgot to set up my computer for the internet in my new house. So I had to search for said internet key and could not find said internet key. And so, yeah, that kept me another probably 20 minutes longer than I would have liked, but I apologize for that. As my co-host Mike joins me in the spotlight. Hello, Mike.
Hi, is there no video tonight?
No video?
Oh, I'm not getting any video.
I am. I can see you just fine.
Oh, God, there you are. Oh, my. Oh, God. Oh no.
I'm also going to caution our fans because I have not yet decided how I'm going to do this. This is, I figured I didn't really put a lot of thought into it tonight because, this is our only show this week and then we're preempted all of next week. So I kind of like, hey, you know what? Let's just do what we can do. I'm going to have a much better setup than this.
Your chin.
Here,
it's your chin. I never thought I'd see this book because I always see the bald spot on top of your head. I never see your chin. Oh, God, it's your neck.
Okay, what do you want me to do? Okay, seriously. All right, so I am going to improve the setup a little bit. I don't know how I'm going to do this yet, so just bear with me here. For tonight anyway, by the time we get back from our hiatus, I will have a much better situation than I do right now. Right now, I look like I got like a glow going on here. It's kind of weird, but just bear with me for tonight. All right, so because it's our only show, we have to cross mediums here. We have to do sports, entertainment, wrestling. Now, we don't have a lot. Sports-wise, for you baseball fans out there, we will do some stuff when we come back from the hiatus. There's little things. I've been saying this for the last month and a half. There are things that I've been waiting to talk about for reasons that I think are merited. And that's really because of the time of year, and these things will develop further. And as we approach the trade deadline, and by the time we come back from hiatus, it'll be the All-Star break. So I think it's a good thing to kind of wait on these things until then. So that's why I'm not really doing. We haven't been doing too much in baseball. I understand we won't be able to do really any pre-setup for the home run derby because really we don't know who's in it yet. So sorry about that. We'll talk about it obviously when we get back on the air from the hiatus. All that stuff we'll talk about, the All-Star game, all that when we come back from hiatus. We'll start doing some baseball weekly because really that's all we have to do. I mean, that's summer. It's baseball. That's all you got. And obviously off-season basketball news and stuff like that. So tonight's sports content is only going to be our part one of our post-NBA draft analysis. We're gonna split it up because you can't really dissect it all completely in like a 15-minute segment. So we're going to dissect it in 2 segments, part 1 tonight and then part 2 when we come back from our hiatus. And we'll dovetail some free agent stuff in there. Obviously, everybody's looking forward to free agency starting on Friday, July 1st, the Kevin Durant saga, all that stuff. We'll kind of set the table for that as well. And obviously, we'll talk about that throughout the summer. So that will be our only sports stuff is the NBA. And then entertainment-wise, we'll do box office beat, TV highlights. That's it. We're not going to do any entertainment news. There ain't much going on anyway. And then we will jump over to wrestling and talk about last night's Monday Night Raw. So that's going to be what we're going to be doing tonight. But first, we have to. It seems like we've done this so often lately, but we have to start off with some sad news. tonight. In a year we've lost so many. We lost a legendary head coach, the most legendary women's head coach. But just forget about the whole gender thing. She was one of the greatest coaches of all time, and by statistics, she is the winningest coach in Division I of all time. Pat Summitt passed away this morning after battling early onset dementia for a number of years. She resigned from Tennessee in 2012 because of her health, and really all you've heard since then was that things had been getting progressively worse. Over the last couple of days, word had gotten out that that her health was declining rapidly. Family was called, so we all knew it was just a matter of time. But still, this is a huge loss for not just college basketball, but for sports. This woman was an icon. The things that she did for the game, not just for college athletics, but for pro sports too. I mean, she opened the door for women's athletics in a lot of ways in this country, and did so much for female coaches, for coaches in general. It really is. What she did was remarkable, simply remarkable. 8 national championships, over 1,000 wins, just a phenomenal coaching career, and just a phenomenal woman. Look, full of life. If you ever watched her coach, she was. Many people call her the Bobby Knight of the women's game. But look, all her student athletes, every single athlete that she coached graduated with a degree. Every single one of them. And that's something that is just, that really says more about her legacy than anything else. So it is a truly, truly horrible, horrible loss today. Pat Summitt, who passed away this morning at the age of 64. Mike, do you have anything to contribute on this?
2016 sucks.
It does.
There's not a whole lot I can. There's not a whole lot I can honestly say, because the truth is, Pat Summitt was the winningest coach in college basketball history. She probably had the biggest impact on the women's basketball game than anyone in history. She was the pioneer in women's, and that might hurt Gino Auriemma to hear something like that, but she was the pioneer in women's college basketball. And you know what? Once she left Tennessee in 2012, that was it. The beginning of the end, I think, because once you take away one's life goal and mission and their passion, it's a slow decline, honestly. And Pat Summitt, she had early dementia. She had early onset dementia. Her health was declining. She was as legendary a figure in sport there could possibly be greatest coaches of all time. And I think the most important stat of is that every one of her student athletes had a degree. They graduated with a degree. They graduated educated, and that's something of a bygone era at this point in the college game. And it's sad because she did it. She did it. She did something amazing. She's one of the greatest of all time, and obviously she has been missed, and she will continue to be missed. So rest in peace, Coach Summitt. One of the greatest of all time, if not the greatest of all time.
Agreed.
She's in the conversation.
She is in the conversation, and not only that, but you think about, well, in a lot of ways, she is Tennessee athletics too.
Yeah.
I mean that whole their whole basketball program, their whole athletic program. You think about Tennessee Alex, you think about Pat Summitt. It's yeah, absolutely. Rest in peace, and our thoughts and prayers to her family. Her son's a coach. He's obviously going through a horrendous time, so our prayers are with them all as they deal with this horrible news. And also, this morning, we lost really one, if not the most influential defensive coordinator of all time. He's right up there. Buddy Ryan, father of Rex and Robert Ryan, passed away this morning at the age of 85. Former NFL head coach, and again, most noted for his defensive coordinating skills. Coached in the NFL for 26 seasons and was known for building some of football's top defenses. A lot of these defenses now rely on creating havoc. He was the guy, the mind behind that. It's been said for Rex and his brother had made it known that their father was not doing well, and Rex just hired his brother Rob to join him on the Buffalo Bills coaching staff. He wanted to try to win together, try to win a Super Bowl together for their father. Would have been a great story, because they knew that their father wasn't doing well. So Buddy Ryan, just a phenomenal defensive mind. He was a Korean War veteran who went to Oklahoma State, got a master's degree from Middle Tennessee State. His first major job in the pros, and he got that in New York in the AFL back in 1968. He was the linebackers coach for the Jets, for Joe Namath's Jets, actually. And they led the AFL in defense, and then beat the Colts in the Super Bowl that year. So he's just a tremendous defensive mind. He was defensive coordinator. His first defensive coordinator job was with the Minnesota Vikings. And then he went to the Bears. He had the 46 defense that everybody, is just legendary. And talk about those Bears teams back then were just all about the defense, and that's to this day that's why they're known for their defense. Just a huge loss for the NFL and for football in general. Again, just a defensive guru, great mind for defense, and a great coach too. He was one of those. He's going to go down as being known for his defense. We often talk a lot about this during the NFL season, how some guys are just coordinators at their best. They do what they do right, either offense or defense. Very few could be true great head coaches that can be both, can coach offense and defense. Most guys are specialized in one way, shape, or form. Buddy, even though he's going to be known more for his defense, was a very good head coach. He could do both. It's just that he favored the defensive side of things more. That's where he was at his best. Doesn't mean he couldn't do offense. It just means he was at his best for defense. He had a great mind for it. So our condolences to Rex and Rob and the whole Ryan family and everybody else affected by us during this time. It's obviously a tremendous loss, losing Buddy Ryan this morning as well. We will try to move on. Obviously, like I said, I always say this, but it's the truth. Everything we talk about the rest of the night is not as important as what we just talked about, but we do try to move on. And as I said, our only sports content tonight will be focusing on the NBA tonight and the NBA draft, most notably, which took place last Thursday. That's why we were preempted. It was a very interesting draft. Let's just get the general reactions first here. It was a very interesting draft. It was and I used that in the terms of, we went into this draft thinking it was going to be very similar to last year, where you weren't going to see a whole lot of international players get drafted, which was not what happened. This year we had far more international players get drafted. Now, I will say this much. The class of international players this year is supposedly better than last year. So that's probably what played a role in it. I think if you look at the top of this draft, outside of Simmons, Ingram, and probably Dunn and Heald, everybody else had a very big range in which they could go. So there, even though there were a few shocks on draft night in terms of some people dropping, like Deontay Davis, Malachi Richardson, names like that. Even though there were a few surprises on Thursday night, it wasn't out of the realm because so many of these guys had very wide ranges in terms of where they could end up. Like some guys could have anywhere from top 5 to fit number 5 all the way down to 25. Like some of them had ridiculous ranges, and I remember thinking this at the between the combine and all the visits that a lot of these players were undergoing. I remember thinking, boy, this is the first time I see most of the players at least in the first round visiting like more than 10 teams each. Like almost everybody in the first round visited at least 10 teams. Usually you don't see that. Usually they only visit a few teams or have a few teams that are really serious contenders. So a lot of these guys had double digits in terms of teams that were looking at them. So that's an interesting kind of thing as far as being serious enough to look at them to see. Now, I think you saw some really good steals late in the first round and in the second round. Really good steals. When I think about, steals, I think about, you look at, I'm trying to think of the player's name at this Denzel Valentine to the Bulls at 14. Denzel Valentine should have been a top 10 pick. No, he should have been a top 10 pick. That's just my opinion. But you look at, I'm trying to pull up the whole list and it's not pulling up for me. That's not good. There it goes. Thank God. Okay, here we go. About time. Okay. You look at, let's see here. There it is right there. You go late in the first round and you see, here it is. That's the person I'm thinking of. Players like, well, everybody's high on Wade Baldwin. I'm not, but that's just I'm not high on Richardson, so I'm not going to. Bryce Johnson is a steal. Bryce Johnson to me was one of them players that was just perfect for the NBA right now. He's a double-double threat. He can fit into pretty much any system you play in. Bryce Johnson to the Clippers at 25, and I was telling Mike this when we were watching this. You could tell that the Clippers are stocking up with the idea that if things don't work out with Blake Griffin, they can move him. That's clearly what they were trying to do in this draft. Is stocking up, looking for reinforcements, and seeing what they get. Bryce Johnson, I think, has the potential to be a star in the NBA. I really believe that. I think he can play defense. He can rebound the ball. That's a steal at 25 for the Clippers. Dejounte Murray is a guy, I was saying this while I was watching it. I wasn't very high on the guys from Washington. I really wasn't. But I went back and I was thinking about these guys from Washington that were getting drafted heavily, and I said, well, let me be fair. Let me go back. So I went back and looked at them. Went back and looked at Murray, and I said, you know what? He isn't as bad. He's at the very least he's decent. So that might have been an actual steal. That might have been an actual steal. We'll see at a later date. Daniel Hamilton is a guy I forgot about from Connecticut. He was a good pick at in the second round, late in the second round. Not to be a homer, but Michael Benajay to Detroit I thought was a great pick. I think he'll do very well there. Very, very well. Those would be the biggest. Marcus. I'm not high on the Marcus Page pick, so I'm not going to say that. A lot of people. Isaiah Whitehead to Utah is a great pick. Great pick. He's guy's a scorer. He's going to really help them. Malcolm Brogdon to Milwaukee, I thought was a steal. Tyler Ulis, who I think it could be a star to Phoenix. I think that's a good pick. Those would be the Deontay Davis dropped to the second round. A lot of people think that's a steal. I was never great. I think, to be honest, I think he looked better because of Valentine on Michigan State last year. That's just my opinion. But those would be the guys that I thought were steals in this draft. As far as that goes. So before we get now, that's just my general overview. As far as early picks, what teams did the best? I think Philly had their best draft probably since they basically blew up their team. Now, again, that's not necessarily saying much, but I don't think that they, I can't really say anything too negative. At least they didn't go after, one position this year like they did, the last couple of years, where they seemed like they were just collecting post guys. It just was weird what they were trying to do. This year, at the very least, at least at the very least, it looked like they really put some thought into it and tried to get fill in multiple positions. I thought Milwaukee had a great draft. I thought they had a very, very good draft. I can't. The Bulls. I'm half and half on. I really don't know. That one's a hard one for me to read. I think I like what the Clippers did. I like the pick of Bryce Johnson that much. I think that's a great pick for them. Those would be the ones. The Warriors, I can't really make out what they did. I mean, again, it's whether they actually play these guys or not. I don't know. The Celtics, I think, did okay. I think the Lakers were disappointing. I think they could have did better. I know they liked Ingram, but I'm not high on them. I thought the Lakers could have done better there. I think they could have taken. I would have rather they taken Chris Dunn, but I know Phoenix. A lot of people think Phoenix did well. I don't. I'm not high on Labissiere. So I didn't think they had a great draft. I thought Detroit did okay. I think the biggest. I don't like what the Lakers did. I wasn't happy with Phoenix. Sacramento, I don't think had a great draft. Those for me would be the losers. The ones I think that are kind of in the middle: the Bulls, the Warriors, maybe Memphis. Those are the ones to be in the middle for me. Mike, what are your general impressions of the draft here?
I don't know. It's been so long. I remember not being impressed by the top picks. I remember Ingram and Ben Simmons, despite, all the hype. I was not. I haven't been impressed by Ben Simmons. I'm just not. I hope I'm wrong. I hope the kid does well. And Brandon Ingram, I don't know. I don't understand how he rose to the second pick in the draft. I don't understand that. Excuse me. So I'm not sure how that happened, because I don't remember him having a particularly good year.
Right.
I mean, he was fine, but he was not even the star. He was not the story in that Duke team. He really wasn't. And it's weird because Wikipedia just has. I don't know why they don't have the draft, like the picks. I don't know why I went to Wikipedia to begin with. Oh, there it is. I remember liking Toronto's draft. Jacob Podol, I said his name wrong. I think they got another big who could score. The Toronto Raptors. Oh, and they the Pascal Siakam from New Mexico State. I remember liking their draft because they filled their need, because that is what Cleveland killed them on this year, was inside. You know, they killed him inside. So I'm particularly happy that that they kind of tried to address it. They used all of their first round picks in an attempt to kind of deal with that.
Right.
So at least one of them might happen. I thought Michael Benajay probably went lower than I thought, but he's in a team that could use him. I thought, let's see, what's his Malachi Richardson went lower than expected. And I don't know if Sacramento's going to use him well either. You know?
Yeah, I agree.
So here we are. And I don't want to like keep going on about this, but Deonta Davis, should he have been in the first round? Yes. Is it terrible that he fell in the second round? Yes. Is he going to have a place on the Grizzlies? Probably. You know, there's going to be a role for him. He's going to get paid first round money, I think, anyway. Other than that, I mean, I wasn't. It's like, oh, okay, this guy went here. Oh, okay, this guy went here. Oh, okay, why are they stashing in the first round? That's dumb.
Right.
So that's where we are.
Yeah, I'm glad you meant. I do want to point out Toronto. Toronto did have. I put Toronto among my winners. I think they addressed what they needed to address. That was a big thing. And by the way, I want to point this out too, because every year I have this nod to somebody that I forgot was a senior and never thought about them being drafted. That nod goes to Marcus Page from North Carolina, because I forgot completely about Marcus Page, who I've never been a huge fan of, mind you. I always thought he was very overrated, but he seems like a really good guy, and he was very big for North Carolina. So I was kind of happy to see him get drafted. He got drafted to the Nets, so I was kind of happy to see that, because he's a guy that could have easily jumped into the draft, the whole upside thing and all, and never really did. And I like the fact that he never seemed to buy into his own hype. Like, people were always overinflating him, acting like he was more than he was, which is just like a decent shooting guard. He was never like a great shooting guard. He never kind of bought into it. You could tell he always kind of knew what he was, and he went about his business. So I have a great respect for that. So, as far as trades go, I think the only one that sticks out, obviously there were a few that was kind of back and forth, and kind of back and forth. I think the biggest one was the Oladipo trade that Oklahoma City made. That was a big trade. That's a huge trade. And that's a great trade for Oklahoma City and them trying to keep Kevin Durant, which will be that'd be the storyline of this summer for the NBA. Although again, Oklahoma City could kind of shoot themselves in the foot a little bit if they don't make sure that they tell Kevin Durant, okay, you made this trade, but are you going to keep these players around me if I sign long term? Because if you're not, then what's the point? Can't just go all in for 1 year, especially if you're in the Western Conference when it's very hard just to get to the finals. So, it's not, you can't do that. If you're going to do it, commit to winning long term. Don't just say, all right, we're going to put it all in this year and hope for the best. But we'll talk more about all of this. I'm not trying to cut it short, but again, we're going to split this into two. We'll go into further detail and go more into what each team did, what we feel each team didn't do, all that kind of stuff. In part two of this, when we get back from our hiatus in 2 weeks, we'll be sure to talk more about this and talk more about in specifics about some of these trades that went down. Again, most of it was just moving picks here and there. It wasn't too big. The only big deal was the Oklahoma City deal. That was the big deal of significance for the Oladipo move there. So, and like I said, Kevin Durant, the wheels are turning Friday, free agency opens. You're already hearing he's going to meet with teams like the Celtics, the Warriors. Obviously, the Thunder are involved. The Clippers, the Spurs, the Heat, the Lakers, and the Lakers are trying to stay in it. The Hawks are trying to get in it. The Knicks are hoping that Carmelo Anthony can get him in it because the Knicks weren't among those first teams. We'll see. I was talking about this off the air yesterday. Mike knows I was talking about it with him here, but my feeling is that Kevin Durant's the type of guy, and this is my feeling. I don't have any reason to think this, but the way he's never kind of been a desperate player, and he's never been an attention-seeking player. He doesn't like the attention. Sometimes that's been both a blessing and a curse for me because you see him operate that premise on the court. He's sometimes a little too passive. But he's not the type of guy that likes this whole recruitment process, likes dragging teams along. A lot of people didn't even know if he'd ready to get to this point. A lot of people think that if he was truly going to stay with the Oklahoma City Thunder, he would never even open himself up to this. And even reached out to other teams. The fact that he has and he's making all these arrangements makes people think that he's closed the door on Oklahoma City, unless something dramatically changes. And I would tend to concur with that. I think that tells me that there's something there that he doesn't like enough to open the possibilities up to going elsewhere. Where that is, I don't know. A lot of the rumblings I've heard, and a couple people that I know that I trust that they've had really good information, have told me that the Celtics seem like a very good landing spot, that he has some very good interest there. I know he has interest in the Warriors. Those, to me, would be the two teams. Now, the only thing with the Warriors is this. The Warriors do not have the cap room. Somebody would have to go. A lot of people think that somebody would have to be Andrew Bogut. Not so sure that would be the smartest idea from a defensive standpoint. So I don't know really what they would do, but somebody would have to go to create the space to get Kevin Durant. With the Celtics, there would not be that issue. Same thing with the Knicks or the Lakers. They would have the space to get him and bring him right in. So that would be the hang-up for the Warriors. They'd probably have to make a move or two to kind of open things up for him. But I think they'd gladly do that if they feel like they can get Kevin Durant. So we'll see. It's going to be an interesting summer with that. And we'll obviously talk about it as we go along here. So that's it. That's the NBA stuff we're going to talk about. So, again, we'll do more draft stuff and more free agent stuff and such after the hiatus 2 weeks from tonight. And, of course, throughout the summer as well. We'll develop more plot threads and talk about them and such. So, all right, from sports and the NBA, we go to entertainment. Wow. And we go to the box office, which I told you all this. I was hoping I'd be wrong because from a nostalgic standpoint, I love the first Independence Day. I enjoyed it thoroughly. Even though I agree with a lot of people, it wasn't the best movie. It was just entertainment. And it wasn't Transform. I know a lot of people lump it in with Transformers, Michael Bay's Transformers. It's not that bad, okay? It is a popcorn movie, but it wasn't as bad as Michael Bay's Transformers movies. Sorry, it just wasn't, okay? But anyways, I enjoyed the first Independence Day. I was really hoping this would not be the case, but I told you all summer that this movie had the potential to either be something close to what Jurassic World did last year, or it could do what happened to the last Terminator movie, completely flop. And it flopped. It is a flop. It's not going to look like one. It might end up being like Alice in Wonderland last month, where overseas it kind of saves itself a little bit, and it doesn't end up as bad. I mean, it's already made $99.5 million overseas. It's $165 million budget, which is surprising. I thought it was more, but it's up to 144.3. So it's going to make its budget back, kind of like Alice in Wonderland ultimately did. But again, this is a franchise that was hoping to make a third film to complete a trilogy. They've apparently always planned for it to be a trilogy. That's something we didn't learn until later on. But again, I think if you look at this and you look at what it did this weekend, we talked about this a lot. We've seen a lot of times in recent years, studios bring franchises back or try to develop sequels for movies that haven't been around in a number of years. And there's been more times than not, the result is not as good. Jurassic World was kind of the exception. If you wait too long, it usually doesn't bode well. We saw that with Scream. We saw that with the American Pie movies. We saw it with Terminator. We saw it now with Independence Day. If you wait too long, what happens? I mean, Alice in Wonderland probably waited too long. Pirates is at risk for that next year. It's something that you have to be very careful of. Now, Jurassic World, it did not hurt them. Why? Maybe because of Chris Pratt. Maybe not. Maybe because it's a dinosaur movie. We don't have a lot of dinosaurs. Maybe. I don't know. But it did not hurt Jurassic World. Independence Day also was plagued by bad reviews. It also had to deal with Finding Dory, which had a second straight weekend at #1 this weekend, making, pardon me, I'm just moving. Okay, making $72.9 million. Independence Day, of course, $41 million. And then you have Central Intelligence out there, which held strong, $18.2 million. And then, surprisingly, Blake Lively's The Shallows, which was expected to maybe do 10, 11 million, pulled in 16.8 on a $17 million budget in its first weekend, which, again, that's a tremendous surprise. And, you know, people were interested, I guess. And again, it's something that it's a kind of movie that we don't get very much of outside of these really kind of C-list, kind of over-the-top Sharknado kind of movies. So it was something a little bit different. It was taken a little bit more seriously than it has been in recent years, and it's a thriller, and it got people out there to see it. Not great big numbers, but decent enough. The other big new release this weekend was The Free State of Jones. That pulled in 7.5 million, which is actually more than I thought it was. It's only $50 million budget, but again, this is a movie that really shouldn't have been released right now. We talked about that last week. Should have been probably at the earliest, a mid-August release. Outside of that, you know, you had The Conjuring 2 in its third weekend, hold at 7.7 million in fifth. Now You See Me 2 at 5.5 million. Everything else was under 5. It was the weekend belonged to Finding Dory. Central Intelligence had a great second weekend as well. All in all, I mean, what do you classify this? Is this a disappointing weekend? I think in a lot of ways it is. Not for Finding Dory, not for Central Intelligence, not for The Shallows, maybe not even for Free State of Jones at this point in the year. But for Independence Day, which was one of those movies that was something that the box office was looking to carry it through the next couple of weeks, that's a devastating blow. But it was always a huge risk. And, you know, they were strategic about it. They released it the week before 4th of July, hoping to get a jump on all the 4th of July releases. It's been a very disappointing June outside of Finding Dory and Central Intelligence. It's been a very disappointing June. And even a lot of May, for many reasons, was disappointing. So, you know, you're heading into July now. We all know that once you get past the second week of August, you pretty much close the door on the summer box office. So they got pretty much 6-7 weeks left. And it really needs a stronger than average July. The thing to think about, too, is, I mean, ultimately, you had a much better February and March and even April than would have been expected. So, I mean, it ends up evening out in a way, but we'll see. I mean, you know, we talked a couple weeks ago about the panic in Hollywood after what was happening in May with some of those movies that were coming out. You know, everything from Alice in Wonderland to X-Men Apocalypse to, you know, Warcraft, and seeing how all these movies were doing and not doing well. You know, there was a lot of panic in Hollywood over how the summer was going to go, and now it's starting to feed into it again. We had a couple of weeks of calm. Finding Dory did huge numbers, and everybody was starting to calm down, and then restarts the panic. So we'll see what happens. It should be very interesting to see if things continue to underperform or you continue to see. I still think you're at risk for another big flop this weekend, probably the biggest flop of them all in Tarzan. But Mike, do you have any thoughts on this weekend's box office?
It was a long day today. It was super hot. Well, it wasn't as hot as yesterday, and I'm really tired. And Independence Day bombed. Independence Day bombed. It bombed. It bombed. It bombed like that e-referendum. Hey, topical humor. You don't put something up for a vote like that unless you're confident, and then you're proven absolutely wrong. and you're paying the price for it. The world's paying the price for it. Independence Day Resurgence was something that could have been good had it been released 10 years ago and with Will Smith. Instead, we get the other Hemsworth and something that isn't that interesting. So, what do you think was going to happen? It was a bomb. Central Intelligence continues to do well. It's not $100 million yet, but it didn't cost a lot to make. But it'll get over $100 million before it's all said and done. Now You See Me 2 is holding up pretty well. That's over $150 million now with its worldwide box. Finding Dory is dominating. There's a shock. All I know is I don't care because I know you're saying The Legend of Tarzan is going to be the biggest bomb this summer. You know what I want to be the biggest bomb of the summer? The Purge, election year. I want that film series to be purged from our general movie consciousness. I want that nonsense gone. And so while you're while you're anticipating Tarzan being the biggest bomb, I am praying that it's the Purge. And it's just purged out of there. It gets purged out of theaters. And we never see a stupid Purge movie again. Fuck the Purge. There. That's my thoughts.
It's going to be hard for the Purge the flop when it's only been made for $10 million.
I know. I'm hoping it makes $5 and a pack of extra. Fuck that.
I wish, believe me, because I don't like those movies either. And speaking of the Purge, that is one of our 4th of July films coming out this weekend. We got 3 4th of July films. One of which, again, I've always believed that this movie is going to be a complete flop. And that's the movie opening in the most theaters, The Legend of Tarzan, the action adventure film from Warner Brothers, opening in 3,450 theaters, over 3,450 theaters. It's a $180 million budget, which again is setting it up to fail. Directed by David Yates of Harry Potter, and starring Digimon Hansu, Alexander Skarsgård, Samuel L. Jackson, Margot Robbie, and Christoph Waltz. It's going to have the 3D deal. It's going to look, they marketed the hell out of this movie. Here's the problem, okay? It's a movie. We've seen a lot of versions of Tarzan. This one doesn't look like it does anything that remotely is going to intrigue people. First of all, they try to make it more serious and darker, which is going to turn off families from taking their children to see it. And then there's people that, maybe would be interested in a darker, more serious Tarzan, but they're looking at this and going, there's nothing interesting. Okay, why would you make Tarzan serious and dark? What's the deal? It just looks like you made it serious and dark for the sake of making it serious and dark. So again, I don't know what you're trying to do here. It's kind of like you've alienated all possible audience from this movie. That's my issue with it, and that's why I think it's going to flop. Plus, the $180 million budget to a movie like this is just asinine. Sorry, it is. So to me, there's no way. I mean, unless the international gross saves this one again, that's been this summer. It kind of reminds you of summer 2010, where international gross has saved about 5 or 6 movies that summer that should have flopped. We'll see. I don't like the looks of what this is going to do at the box office. The second biggest movie is the BFG, an adventure film from Disney, opening in 3,200 theaters. Directed by Steven Spielberg, starring the voice of Mark Rylance, Rebecca Hall, Bill Hader, Jermaine Clement. It's going to have the 3D going for it. It's a family film, PG. This is a movie that didn't have a lot, unless you've been really following it. A lot of people did not know was even coming out until maybe about a month and a half, 2 months ago, until they started putting the trailer with some of the bigger summer releases. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, wow. Yeah, I remember this book. Oh, yeah, I remember that. Okay. And then now you've been seeing some momentum for it. This, to me, could be the sweeper of the summer. And it's hard to say a movie that's put out by Disney and Steven Spielberg is a sweeper. But because of the lack of buzz about it until the last few weeks, that makes it qualify to me as a sweeper. I think this movie it could take #1 this weekend. I really do. It's got a good momentum to it. It's the weekend. It's a family film. It's got 3D going for it. You know, you look at Finding Dory's dominated the last 2 weeks. It's probably going to drop considerably this weekend. Not very like a rock, but you know, enough to where I think the BFG can catch it and probably take #1. So yeah, I think this movie could be the #1 movie this weekend. The thing to remember too, and I want to point this out before I move forward. You know, usually when we talk about the 4th of July weekend, usually a lot of the new releases for that weekend are released on Wednesday. Because 4th of July might end up at like middle of the week or whatever. This year, because 4th of July is on a Monday, the 4th of July releases all end up on a Friday, which is the conventional day for most releases. So that kind of changes it up a little bit too. You know, normally we would say be careful 4th of July weekend because, in predicting, because, you know, people are off on vacations and beaches and stuff. Well, with people having Monday off, even if they're on vacation, they might come back Sunday. Not Sunday to watch a movie Sunday night, knowing they don't have to go to work on Monday, or if they have Monday and Tuesday off, you know, that you have to think about these things. And also with Monday off, you have the 4-day weekend total thing in there as well. So keep all that in mind. The third big release this weekend, major release, is the aforementioned Purge, election year, thriller from Universal, opening in 2,700 theaters. Again, $10 million budget, so very and R-rated. So it's not going to fail. It's going to make money, unfortunately, and it's going to probably be able to make another one, unfortunately. But you know, again, they make these for cheap, and they make some kind of profit. And studios do this; they make some movies for dirt cheap, just to make some kind of profit to make their big releases. That's kind of how it works. So it is what it is. It's going to do well, and I would not be the least bit surprised to see it in second place above Tarzan. Would not be the least bit surprised. Although I would say this is not a movie that I would have, if I was the studio, that I would have released on the 4th of July weekend, but it'll get some traction. So the question is going to be this: if Tarzan flops, how bad does it flop? My implication is, and I should change what I just said. I don't think the Purge can take second. I think the Purge can get above Tarzan, but I don't think it's going to take second. I think Finding Dory will take second. There's a very real possibility that Disney holds #1 and #2 this weekend with the BFG and Finding Dory. And then you're probably looking at, you know, maybe the Purge, Legend of Tarzan, and then Independence Day, because Independence Day is probably going to fall off big time. You know, a lot of people might say, oh, you know, it's Independence Day, it's 4th of July weekend, maybe it'll get some, you know, nah, I don't think it's going to get much boost from that. So I think what you're looking at is the BFG at 1. For the 3-day, I could see it pulling in around 40, 50 million. For the 4-day, maybe around 60, and then you'll have Finding Dory in there, probably around 30, 35, 40 for the 4 days. The Purge around 20, Tarzan around 18, 19, Independence Day around 14, and so on and so forth. I don't think this 4th of July will be as bad as maybe last year's as far as box office take goes, but I don't think it's going to be at all what it used to be. I think we are in an era now where we talked about this, but the holiday weekends don't do as well as they once did because you have so many movies coming out in between now. And I don't think it's going to be as bad as Memorial Day weekend either as far as how they all collectively do. So, but I could be wrong. If it ends up being worse than I expect it to be, then uh-oh. But we'll see. Mike, do you have anything to add?
I hate the Purge. I wish it would die.
Okay.
As a film franchise, I just hope it just goes away.
Fair enough.
There.
Going to the point. All right, with that, we move to the TV highlights. I'm going to throw this one to Mike because the only thing I really truly watched this week, other than wrestling and sports, I haven't been able to keep up on Preacher or anything else, like Game of Thrones or anything. So the only thing that I was able to watch this week is probably the same thing, one of the same things that he watched this week that he's no doubt going to highlight. So I'm just going to throw to him on this one to save time. Mike, go ahead. I don't have any other TV highlights to add, so you just go ahead.
Oh, Lord. Okay. I'm trying to not just go to the obvious one.
I know.
I've been watching a show, bits and pieces of a show called Endeavor. which is on PBS Masterpiece Mystery. Excuse me. And I don't know if people know, but there was a show back in the day called Inspector Morse. It was a big show in Britain for a long time. It was a big procedural show in Britain. It had a sequel, which was based on his sidekick in that one, Inspector Lewis, which is also on Masterpiece Mystery, which is absolutely wonderful. It's a good show, and there is now a prequel to Inspector Morse called Endeavor, and this one happens in the '60s, and it's the young Inspector Morse and how he's got to solve like mysteries that happen around Oxford. It's a really, 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 it's an interesting show. It's an interesting show. It's not my favorite, but I enjoy it nonetheless. So I think it'll be good. It's a good show. However, there was nothing that matched how good Person of Interest was. The finale returned zero. It played with all of my emotions. It made me sad. It made me excited. It just made me sad some more. Put me on the edge of my seat. It made me happy. It gave me relief. It was a beautiful, beautiful finale. It ended well. And on top of that, if they decide to do more Person of Interest, they can. Whether they do a movie and whether they do it or back to a pilot or they focus on another team. However, if they do a movie focusing on the original team, I will say, despite how ridiculously unlikely it could be, there is a way they can bring back John Reese. I don't mean to spoil it, but look, it's Reese. But here's the thing, and all I'm going to say is this. Nothing is true until you see the body. That's the rule of thumb in all of these shows. Until you see the body, nothing's confirmed. And this is the case that I hold true, and I hold to Person of Interest. But on top of that, Shaw is in a good place. Fusco is in a good place and is not dead. Samaritan anymore. Finch is in a better place right now, and Reese, I love Reese got it the hardest, but it was a fantastic episode. Thank you, John Nolan, Greg Plageman, Denise Day. Thank you for this wonderful show. I hope you do more in the future because you made the best show, really the best show out there. And I hope we get more. I really do. Bring us more Person of Interest. I'm greedy for the greatness. So there you go.
Yeah, I just want to just point this out. I love the show, and I'm a Nolan fanboy. But obviously, I always kind of threw to you on it because you were the one you had your fanboy moments on this show about that show, much like I do about a number of shows. It was kind of your thing, even though I watched it too, and I really enjoyed it. And I thought it was consistently from day one of the best shows on television. You look back at the first season and you could tell it just got better every episode of that first season, and it never looked back. It was always a great show. It's just that the best shows are the ones that even though they start off great, they continue to get better, and they never ever rested on their laurels or nothing. They always never got complacent. They always gave you 100%, and sometimes did more with less, and that's what that show had to do this year. They did more with less. Their budget was cut. They had 13 episodes. what was done to them was an unfair. It was one of the most horrendously unfair treatments of a show that did nothing but succeed that I've ever seen in my experience of watching television. I have never seen a network treat a show that is successful as person of interest the way they did, ever. From not even knowing when it was going to air and giving people like maybe a month and a half, 2 months notice of when it was going to air, and burning off episodes like it was some show that barely got a 1.0 rating. I don't understand what they were trying to do, but that's not the fault of the creators or the people involved with that show, who all they did was do a fantastic job. And if there's any justice in this world, they would receive an Emmy for their performances and for their show this year, because nothing was better than that. And that's not me being biased. That's not me trying to throw something a curve here at Mike. That's the honest to God truth. If you watch that last episode, I'm telling you right now, other than maybe that I'm blanking on the title, that Doctor Who episode back in November, there's nothing I've seen that matched the technical superiority, the writing, and the acting of what I saw. Nothing. Sorry, and nobody can accuse me of not watching a lot of the best shows on TV. I watch pretty much anything that gets all this awards buzz and anything that gets wins. I watch it all. Nothing matches that. Sorry, this doesn't. It's the honest to God truth. And you can feel free to disagree, but I feel like it's just on this. I feel so strongly about the level of quality that you got with that. I really do. And it's a shame that they're not going to get recognized. You just know it. But what are you going to do? So kudos to them on a fantastic 5 years, and hopefully they do. There's a lot of potential for a spinoff and other movies, and it's a great universe. They can do a lot with it. Hopefully they do something with it, because the fan base wants it, and there's a lot of potential there. And they could just, I'd hate to see them not creatively not pursue these avenues, because there's a lot of potential to be had there. All right. So from TV highlights, we go to the last thing of the evening, which is wrestling. There's not a lot we can say about this Monday Night Raw last night, because really all it really was filler disguised with the potential to change things up. We talked about the Roman Reigns suspension last week. In the aftermath of that, you knew they were going to toy with you, making you think that maybe they'll take him out of the match, maybe they wouldn't. So that's what they basically spent most of last night doing, was having, they threw Cena and AJ Styles out there in their program, which is like the second, main event on the show, other than the championship matches, championship feud. They threw them out there and said, all right, we're going to toy with the audience and make them think we might add these guys. And then at the same time, we'll further their feud. And it is smart booking. It is smart booking. And it's a good way to kind of, if you're going to do filler, you want to disguise it. And they did that. So, you give kudos to them on that. I don't know how intelligent it was to end both matches the way that they did, in terms of both matches kind of ended anticlimactically, or both guys getting pinned with one finisher, which I don't understand. But then again, you couldn't exactly run a DQ or something else, because you would just create more controversy and open things up that you don't want opened up. So, I guess they were kind of booked into a corner there, but nonetheless, the results were very predictable. And it was what it was. You didn't add Cena or AJ to the match. I kind of never thought they would, to be honest. Maybe for a brief minute I thought maybe, or that I thought if they were going to do it, that it was going to lead to the whole 2 world title deal, that kind of thing. But nonetheless, it was what it was. It was a good show. It was basically filler, but it was a good show. I obviously, everybody was shocked that they came right out and had Rollins and Ambrose address the whole wellness policy thing. I'm kind of glad it did. It actually does further their story. So it was kind of cool to see that happen. The Jericho Owens Zayn segment was probably the best thing on the show, easily. Great storytelling there. They had to set up a feud for Miz. Miz came back, and again, it was an okay return, but they and giving Miz Kane is kind of a random thing to do, but I guess they just don't want Miz's title reign to come to an end anytime soon. Not sure what happened to the Cesaro thing, but hey. But anyway, I mean, it's interesting. I don't know. I don't remember Miz and Kane ever feuding, so I guess it's something different. And it was a smartly booked match to set it up with Maurice faking being injured and all that. They continued the U.S. title feud, which is kind of pointless. The tag team stuff was interesting. As far as the New Day and the Wyatts go, it was a good segment. Clearly, they're continuing to set up the whole Xavier Woods angle. The Diva stuff, the Natalya Becky segment was really good. Oh, that just scared me. Okay. Charlotte, the Charlotte stuff was just more of the same. I mean, it wasn't great, but I thought it was solid for what it was. The Jericho Zayn Owens match, Owens segment really made the whole night. And then obviously there's some good stuff with Kane and Miz and Kane and Stephanie, and then you had the stuff with Rollins and Ambrose and Cena and Styles, which I thought came off pretty well. So it wasn't a bad Raw though. Wasn't a bad Raw, but not obvious, was really just more or less filler and setup than anything else. So, Mike, you got anything to add?
The best part of Raw was the opening promo and the highlight reel. That's it. Oh, Becky Lynch beating Natalya was a good way of just kind of pushing the storyline along. Although some race showed up on television for absolutely no reason.
Yeah, there's not much you can say about it. There is more you can say about this. I just want to bring this up because one of our fans actually emailed this to us. I've heard about this too. Justin, this comes from Pro Wrestling Insider Justin Rabar, who was live earlier today on Sports Talk Radio Pittsburgh, and this. Give me 1 second. I have to go do something. Hang on 1 second. I hate to do that, but hang
on. Okay, it's 9:54, and he's doing this. I will talk about the highlight reel being awesome and intense. It's obviously the best part of Raw last night. I am heavily biased because I'm a Kevin Owens fan, but it really highlighted the story of Owens and Zayn in WWE right now, which was very important because it's just a continuation. I feel like they took what they've applied in Ring of Honor, and there's not really a definitive clear-cut good guy. There's not really a definitive clear-cut bad guy. You kind of have a better understanding of why Owens did what he did, even though it was dirty and underhanded. But it didn't put Zayn in the most sympathetic light. It gave a gray area, and the story was great. And then Jericho was just unbelievably funny and effective in the segment. You really feel like he's going to be a part of that match somehow on Sunday, because that's what it is. In the end, I think that leads to Jericho v. Zayn, because that's what we really focused on. And I think that leads to Jericho versus Zayn. Sami Zayn, not Zayn from One Direction, and the shitty show probably did. Jericho versus Sami Zayn. SummerSlam. God, WrestleMania.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry.
I just analyzed the best wrestling segment from last night.
Well, we already did that anyway. Yeah. All right. I apologize for that. I had a dog issue. I had to take care of. The dog got in here. So, yeah, one of the cons of live podcasting. As I was saying, one of our fans had sent me. I guess Pro Wrestling Insider Justin Rabar was live on Sports Talk Radio Pittsburgh this afternoon, and he passed on new details about the upcoming brand split. He confirmed again, a lot of this is obvious, but confirmed that the brands will each have specific referees, red and blue ropes, 2 world titles, One that has a completely new design, and they'll also be debuting new sets for the shows and new theme songs for the shows. None of that's really surprising, but it does confirm a lot of the obvious stuff that we thought we'd get. So, Mike, I'm assuming you don't have much reaction to that.
I do not.
Yeah. So I guess if it all it's really done is reassure a lot of people that were hoping that each brand got their own identity, got their own title. It does reassure you of that, but nothing earth-shattering there. Maybe Mike has a better reaction to Chris Jericho versus Shinsuke Nakamura.
It'll be a great match. It'll be a great match.
That's something to be excited about. Of course, that match is supposed to be Bray Wyatt. They decided not to put Bray Wyatt on the Japan tour. So you fill in with Chris Jericho, which is not a bad backup. And again, this is confirmed, but it's a rumor, but really not all that surprising if that's what you get. So, it'll be a good match. I wish that's not going to be on TV, is it? On the network, is it?
It might be. Yes.
I can't remember if it was or not. I don't think it is, but I was hoping it would be, because that'd be a hell of a match to watch. Yeah. So, but okay. So I guess that's it. It looks like we got everything. There's nothing else in the email box. Yeah, there's nothing else in the email box. So we hit on all the major points we had to hit on. So let's wind down. Again, we just we do these one show weeks. We only touch on the major stuff. We have to get in and leave the rest alone. So that's kind of all we have the time for. So, so with that being said, let's wind down. As always, the show might be over. It's not mean you have to stop interacting or contributing to our show. Continue to have your voice heard by sending us your feedback, your questions, comments, reactions, things we talked on the show, topics we discussed on the show, things we said, anything you want to comment on, any suggestions you want to make for breaking news items or topic ideas that you want to make sure that we cover. You can send them in to us. Questions about the scheduling of the show, about the show in general. Any of those things you can do by email, Facebook, and Twitter. You can email us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. Remember, you got the hashtags to use if you wish. Hashtag itspotlight411. Hashtag ITS5. That one's our 5th anniversary hashtag. Or you can create your own hashtag depending on what you're talking about. You talk about wrestling, you might want to use hashtag ITS Wrestling, hashtag ITS Basketball, whatever you want to use. Feel free to create your own hashtag. Just don't be disrespectful or offensive. That's all we ask. You can also find us on Facebook. Just search for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook and make sure you like our page upon finding it. We encourage you to follow us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest information about our show, especially as it relates to scheduling. I didn't really use that tonight, but usually if I'm late or something like that, I'll let you know through those channels, through social media. So that's the best way to kind of get late breaking news on our show. So make sure you note that. If you like to keep up with our show, maybe you're somebody that wants to look back at old episodes or maybe missed an episode, whatever the case may be, you have a number of ways in which to do it. If you're somebody that prefers watching us on screen, the whole streaming aspect of podcasting, then you want to check us out on Google Plus and YouTube, where you can find all of our more recent episodes, everything from mid-October all the way up until tonight is on Google Plus and YouTube. Just search In the Spotlight 411 on Google Plus and YouTube, and you'll have access to every episode we've ever published on Google Plus and YouTube. Available to you at any time. So if you're interested in any episodes that fall into that range, or again, if you're just somebody that likes seeing us on screen and streaming, then make sure you search for In the Spotlight 411 on Google Plus and YouTube, and you'll have access to those episodes and be able to keep up with us on here. And also, of course, you can check us out on our main host site, Podbean, as well as iTunes, if you're somebody that prefers listening instead of watching us. Or listening, maybe you want to listen to us on the go, or maybe you're also interested, in addition to the Google Plus YouTube episodes, maybe you're also interested in older episodes of our show. Just go to Podbean and iTunes, search for In the Spotlight 411, and you'll have access to every episode we've ever done, not just everything on Google Plus and YouTube, but everything from our Blog Talk Radio days, our Talk Show, Libsyn days, everything that we've ever done from October 2010 all the way up until tonight is on Podbean and iTunes in order from the most recent episode to the oldest. Just again, search for In the Spotlight 411 on Podbean and iTunes. Again, search for In the Spotlight 411 on Podbean and iTunes. You'll be able to access every episode we've ever done from October 2010 all the way up until tonight. Again, all in order from most recent to the oldest on both sites. So whether you miss an episode, want to go back and check out an episode again, listen to us on the go, or maybe you might be a new fan that wants to check out really old episodes of our show from way back when, or maybe you're a long-time fan that wants to look back at those old episodes, or even look back at new, more current episodes. Whatever the case may be, you do have access to us on Podbean and iTunes, as well as Google Plus and YouTube. So be sure you keep all that in mind. So, 4 ways in which to keep up with our show and look back at episodes. Okay, so that's it. I think we got everything done. All right. So as always, want to thank Mike for being here tonight. Thank you, Mike.
Time for bed. Let's go.
Time for bed. Let's go. That's always your catchphrase. Nothing if not consistent. I also want to thank myself and our great show, pat myself on the back, and thank all of you for your continued support and contributions to the show. Thank you so much for watching, and to those that will be listening later as well. Thank you to you as well. That is it for tonight, and that is it for this week. Again, this is our only show of this week. We will not be back. Our next show will be 2 weeks from tonight. We are off next week as well. Our next show will be 2 weeks from tonight, which is July the 12th. July the 12th. Tuesday, July the 12th, which is the same night as the MLB All-Star Game. So obviously we'll be up against that. We'll give you live updates throughout the show that night and talk about it and talk about the All-Star rosters, any snubs. Again, we won't be on the air next week, so we can't do that next week. Obviously, we'll talk about the Home Run Derby as well. We won't be able to do any setup for it, but it is what it is. And obviously, we'll talk NBA free agency, part 2 of NBA draft analysis, all that good stuff on that Tuesday show. We'll have 2 shows that week, so we don't have to do sports, entertainment, wrestling all one night. It'll just be sports and wrestling, and then entertainment on Thursday of that week. So make sure you know all that. We'll obviously talk wrestling on that first show back as well. So again, so this is it for 2 weeks. Our next show, again, 2 weeks from tonight, Tuesday, July 12th, broadcasting and streaming live here on Google Plus and YouTube at 8 o'clock from Eastern Time. Again, our next show, 2 weeks from tonight, on July the 12th, Tuesday, July the 12th, at 8 o'clock from Eastern Time here on Google Plus and YouTube. Until then, I hope you all have a great rest of your night, a great rest of your week, a great 4th of July weekend, and a great week next week, and a great weekend, and all that stuff. Have a great 2 weeks. We'll see you back here 2 weeks from tonight on July the 12th at 8 o'clock from Eastern Time. Hey! And he's got a cameo. Yeah. There you go. Perfect timing. We'll see you 2 weeks from tonight, July the 12th, 8 o'clock from Eastern on Google Plus and YouTube. Until then, have a great night, everybody. Stay safe. Enjoy the holiday.